Yeah, it's been pretty fascinating. And I had just asked Claudio Castagnoli a little while ago about the influence of Ring of Honor and those days and looking around the landscape of professional wrestling, how much that time frame has affected the current landscape of pro wrestling. And it's pretty incredible when you take a look at it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought about it. I remember when I first started, going to working with WWE and certainly now in AEW, a lot of the times you'd see people that you cut your teeth with on the indies being on these massive shows. Certainly when I think of Wembley Stadium and All In last year, half of that card I'd have done shows on in the early 2000s. And to see how so many of those guys got to that level was something you would never imagine. I mean, you put yourself back in the landscape of pro wrestling in the early 2000s, and you would have never have said that half of these guys that were on top that drew this money would ever get to that stage because, we heard the edict. And at the time, the only other big company in the job, WWE, was that if you weren't 250 and you weren't a former football player, then you weren't going to have a chance. You might come in, you might have a sort of a low card role or a mid card role, but that changed so dramatically because of guys like Brian and Punk and Joe to a large extent as well in TNA that it just changed the landscape. And no one's ever said it, obviously, but I think they had to switch their game plan because they realized that this is what people wanted to see.
And, of course, we're on with Nigel McGuinness from AEW and getting ready for AEW Collision coming up here on Saturday night in Henderson at the Dollar Loan Center. If you haven't got your tickets, well, you're an idiot. Do it now, or Nigel will hunt you down, I promise. Will you, Nigel?
I'll do my best. I'm a very busy man, Mark, so I try to keep my hunting people down to a minimum.
Fair enough. I probably put you on the spot.